let's move on to the second mimosa flower branch. The weaving is basically the same. The only difference is that these 3 rondelle beads will be fixed using 50 cm piece of 28 gauge wire, instead of 3 separate thin wire cuts as before. I will show how to do it in all the details when we'll start making the third branch in a minute. As of the second one, it's simple. Use 1 meter of 26 gauge wire with 30 cm string of beads. Start from the top. The first small bud is made of 2 coils. Then 2 small blooms are made of 3 coils each. Small means that weaving is done using a toothpick. And all the other flowers will be big, made with the help of a lollipop stick. First goes a big fluff made of 2 coils. Then there is the alternation of 3 big fluffs, 3 coils each, and 3 big fluffs, 2 coils plus a bead in each. At the end, there is another big fluff made of 3 coils. For this branch, I used 3 rondelle beads, lime, light yellow, and bright yellow. Now let's make together the third mimosa branch. Also use 1 meter of 26 gauge wire with 30 cm string of beads. To fix the first 3 rondelle beads, we will need 50 cm long piece of 28-30 gauge wire, and to attach the 4th and 5th beads, we will need the same thin wire 40 cm long. The third branch consists only of big blooms, so I will be using the lollipop stick only. But if you look closely at my pattern, you might notice that the first bud can be made of big or small coils. It's up to you, it's just the diversity trick. Let's start with 2 big blooms with rondelle beads. I would also like to draw your attention to this point. It's not at all necessary to cut the wire from the spool right away. You can first string 30 cm of beads from yellow to green, step back 20 cm of bare wire and start weaving. Then, when the branch is ready, cut off another 20-25 cm of wire. After the first bloom with 2 big coils is done, cut 50 cm of thin wire. Here are 5 rondelle beads I'm going to use for the third branch. Now we need to fix the second rondelle bead. For this we are going to use one of the thin wire ends. Just start wrapping it up the wire leg. Pass the thin wire leg through one of the coils. Now string the next rondelle bead. And pass the end of the wire through the opposite coil. Place the rondelle bead inside of 2 coils in the middle. And now just wrap the wire down the leg repeating the direction of the spiral thread. We've got the first 2 flowers with rondelle beads. Continue following the pattern. Next come 3 large triple coiled flowers. Then goes a bloom with the bright yellow crystal. To attach the third rondelle bead, use one of the thin wire ends, the longest one. Then make 1 triple loop. In order to attach last 2 rondelle beads, use another thin wire piece 40 cm long. To fix the last rondelle bead, just use any of the longest thin wire ends. The third mimosa branch is ready. Another interesting point here is that the last flower is made of 4 coils, also using a lollipop stick. The branch is still flat, just for a how-to demo. In fact, we need to curve it, give it a shape and volume. The third branch also consists of 11 flowers, like the previous 2. The fourth and fifth branches consist of 10 flowers and 1 or 2 separate florets. For the fourth branch, use 1 meter of wire with 26 cm of beads. All flowers consist of big coils. It all starts with 3 big flowers with rondelle beads in the middle. To attach the first 3 rondelle beads, you will need a 50 cm piece of 28 gauge wire. Then we have 2 triple flowers and again 1 flower with a crystal. For the crystal fixation, you will need a 40 cm long piece of thin wire. Then make 2 triple loops again. Plus 2 blooms with crystals. Use 30 cm wire cut. The last 2 rondelle beads, which can be of a larger size by the way. It's good to pick up rondelle beads and crystals so that their size gradually increases from top to bottom. So, these 2 florets are made on separate wires. Use 2 pieces of 26 gauge wire, 25 cm long, and a 2.5 cm string of beads for coils creation. And for fixing the rondelle beads, use 2 cuts of thin wire 20 cm each. You'll get 2 of such beautiful units. When the main inflorescence with 10 flowers is ready, attach these 2 separate florets below. I'm using the brighter one first. Put it in place. I always leave the wire ends slightly apart. That makes it easier to twist. Twist it a little, but no more than for 1 cm. Take the next one. It's also good to spread the wires here to make it easier to twist them all together. Put it in place and twist. These individual florets at the base give the stem additional thickness, which is good for both the visual effect and the durability of your work. The fourth branch is ready. Let's move on to the fifth branch. For the fifth branch, you will need 1 meter of wire and 25 cm string of beads. By the way, keep in mind that you can always string some more beads, because in my notes I have numbers measured without taking the first bloom into account. So feel free to add a couple of centimeters to my bead string values. In addition to 10 flowers on a common stem, there will be a separate flower with the largest 6 by 8 mm crystal bead. The loops here are also slightly different. They are very big in size. What does very big mean? To create very big coils, use a very big lollipop stick. This is what it looks like compared to a regular one. If the diameter of a regular lollipop stick is about 3 mm, here it is already 4 mm. A toothpick has about 2 mm in diameter. This branch starts with 4 small flowers made on a toothpick, and all the rest are big. To attach the first 2 rondelle beads, use a piece of thin wire 50 cm long. The third crystal is attached using a separate 40 cm wire cut. A single flower is made on a 26 gauge wire 25 cm long, plus 2.5 cm string of beads and 20 cm of thin wire for fixing a large rondelle bead. Here too there is a large flower made of 4 coils. By the way, in my pattern I also have some additional numbers. Like the first leg is 1.5 cm, then 5.7 mm in between, but you can do it even up to 1 cm. There is no need to keep the same number every time. It can vary, like everything in nature. Everything is done by eye. If you look closer, you can notice that I mixed up the pattern a little and swept the 2 bottom flowers. Once again, it proves that it is not at all necessary to strictly follow the same pattern. Even if you come up with some little change or substitution, it's okay. The branch still turns out quite natural. The main thing is to understand the principle of work, and then you can do it without any pattern. Just invent on the go and enjoy your creativity. Branches number 6 and 7 consist of 13 flowers on a common stem and 3 more separate florets. The 7th branch is the largest and most complex, since it also has an offshoot. Let's start with reviewing the pattern for the 6th branch. Use 1 meter 10 cm of wire and 35 cm string of beads. All the blooms are big and made with the help of a regular lollipop stick. First, there are 2 big buds with crystal beads. As you already know, details with crystals require only 2 coils, obviously. Then there are 3 triple fluffs and again 1 fluff with a rondelle bead. To fix these 3 rondelles, use a 50 cm piece of wire. Then there are 5 triple blooms and the last 2 blooms with beads. It will take 40 cm of thin wire to attach 4th and 5th crystals. And the last, but not least, we have the 3 separate florets. The first one consists of 2 big loops and the medium-sized 4 by 6 mm rondelle bead. The next flower or fluff consists of 2 very big loops. Use a thickest lollipop stick 4 mm in diameter. And even larger rondelle bead 6 by 8 mm. And the third detail is made of 4 very big coils on the thickest stick. This is how these 3 parts look together. 2 of them have crystal beads of different sizes in the middle, and one consists entirely of beads and also looks beautiful as a ball. All 3 parts will require 25-30 cm of thick and thin wire, 26 gauge for weaving and 30 gauge for attaching the crystal or rondelle beads. Be sure to attach 3 separate florets at the base of the branch. This is the 6th branch. We move on to the 7th branch. It consists of 2 branches combined in one and 3 separate flowers. The first part of this branch, this one, consists of 13 flowers. The second offshoot consists of 7 flowers. Obviously, the first part is longer, so more wire will be needed to make it. 1 meter 20 centimeters and 40 centimeters of beads. For the second offshoot part, take 1 meter of 26 gauge wire and 20 centimeters of beads. Almost all the details here are big, except of, you see, this one says small. Keep in mind that you can always change the pattern a little. You can start with small loops, then move on to bigger ones, or you can make big loops only. Experiment. If you are making several mimosa branches, vary them. This first part starts with 4 flowers with rondelle beads. Use 1 piece of wire, 50 centimeters long, to attach them. Then there are 3 triple loops and another dual one with a crystal. We should pause now with the first part. It's time to switch to the second part. First goes a detail with a rondelle bead, then 3 triple details, then again a detail with a crystal and 2 triple details. To attach these 2 rondelles, take a thin wire cut 40 cm long. Next, you need to connect these 2 parts together and almost immediately weave another triple detail and another one. Then goes the detail with the crystal bead. To fix it and the previous rondelle beads, these are the crystals number 5 and 6, you will need 40 cm of thin wire. The last 2 fluffs are made of 4 coils. The last 3 individual florets are created in the same way as for the previous 6th branch. For the last 2 details, use the thickest lollipop stick. Also, place them at the base of the double branch. And finally, the last 8th branch, consisting of 12 flowers, is made of 1 meter piece of 26 gauge wire and 31 cm string of beads. It begins with 2 small dual buds, then 1 triple bud, and then also 2 small coils with 1 crystal in the middle. As always, to fix it, use a thin wire 50 cm long. Next, there is the alternation of triple and double loops, small and big. You can see it. Then we have the alternation of flowers with crystals and just with triple coils. And the final detail has 4 big coils. I don't want to repeat myself, but these 2 rondelle beads are attached using a 40 cm cut of thin wire. This is a fairly simple 8th branch. Here at the end I still used some light and lime green shades of beads, although it's optional. But closer to the base I used quite a lot of dark yellow seed beads and dark rondelle beads. This is the mature stage of mimosa blooming. Feel free to twist the stems of the last branches here, since during the assemblage we are going to use floral tape to attach them. Some wires can be trimmed at different levels to reduce the thickness of the future stem. So, all 8 mimosa branches are ready. I put each one in an individual bag and signed their numbers, not to mix them up. We still have to create the mimosa leaves. So let's move on to the next lesson.